Story 1. I was out of town that weekend, took a break to clear my mind, you know? Sometimes you just gotta get away, let everything fade into the background, and that's exactly what I did. I drove out to this little cabin spot a few hours out, nothing special, but it's got trees, a lake, the whole peaceful vibe. Just you, nature, and whatever thoughts follow you. But anyway, it's what happened after that messed me up. It was late when I headed back. Probably should have left earlier, but you know how it goes. Good food, one last look at the lake, and the next thing you know, it's pitch black outside. I figured I'd be fine, though. The roads were pretty empty, and I've done night drives before, so no big deal. The whole ride back was just me, some songs, and the occasional street lamp passing by. I was pretty relaxed, just focused on getting home. No cars around me, just this long road, and I was in my own head, barely paying attention to the road ahead. But then, out of nowhere, this dark shape shot across the road, like really fast. For a second, I thought maybe it was an animal, a deer or something, but there was no thud, no bump, no sound. I slowed down, looking in the rear view, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever it was. That's when I saw it. In the middle of the road, right where I'd just driven past, there was this figure, tall, thin, just standing there like it was planted in the road. No face, no details, just a shadow, a darker-than-night outline watching me drive away. I swear it was just there, as if it had stepped out of the road itself, and it wasn't moving, just watching. Now this is where things start getting weird, like really weird. I kept staring at it through the mirror like maybe my eyes were playing tricks. But when I looked back the second time, it wasn't standing there anymore. It was moving. No, it was running. Full speed, right toward me. My foot slammed down on the gas, and I kept my eyes on the road, but I couldn't get rid of the feeling, you know? I couldn't resist the urge to check again. There it was, still gaining on me, this shadowy thing getting closer and closer, like it wasn't just running, it was chasing me. So there I was, foot pressing down hard on the gas pedal, heart racing like it was trying to jump out of my chest. I kept my eyes on the road, trying to focus, trying to tell myself that I was just seeing things, but something in me, call it instinct, call it fear, kept nagging me to look in the mirror, like I needed to see if it was still there, if it was real. I glanced up. There it was, running faster than before. That shadowy figure, no details, no face, just this dark shape coming at me like it had one mission, and that was to get to me. The road was all curves and dips, barely any lights. Every time I hit a corner, I hoped that somehow I'd lose it. Maybe it'd vanish, or I'd snap out of whatever creepy dream I was in. But every time I peeked back, it was still there, like it was glued to the road. And man, it was gaining on me. At some point, I could swear I felt it. A chill like ice in my bones. My fingers went numb on the steering wheel, my whole body tense as a rock. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was just freaking myself out, that nothing was there. But I knew deep down that wasn't true. I wasn't just imagining it. I mean, you don't just see things like that, right? Not like this. Then, just as I thought it was about to reach my car, I turned another sharp corner and it was gone. 1 second, it was right there, almost close enough to touch, and then nothing. Just an empty road behind me, like it was never there at all. It felt weird, honestly, like something wasn't right, but I wasn't about to question it. I was just glad it was over, glad that somehow I'd lost it. So I kept driving, focusing on nothing but the road, hoping that the feeling would disappear too. It took a while, but eventually I saw the familiar street signs, the houses, the streetlights that meant I was back home. I pulled into my driveway, practically stumbled out of the car and didn't look back. I went straight for my door, unlocked it and stepped inside. I locked up, bolted it, even put on the chain just to feel a little safer. For a second, I just stood there in the dark, listening. It was quiet. Almost too quiet, but I figured that was just my nerves still on edge. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the whole thing, telling myself it was all just in my head, Just a long night on an empty road, right? I didn't go out at night for about 3 months after that, just to be safe. Story 2. I just got back from a weekend out of town, and let me tell you, I was not ready for what happened next. I love hitting the road and exploring new places, but driving back home at night? That's a whole different vibe. The roads were dark, and there was barely any light except for my headlights cutting through the night. It was a bit creepy, but I brushed it off. I mean, I'd done this 100 times, right? As I cruised along, I figured I'd roll down my window for some fresh air. Just to wake myself up a bit after all that driving. The wind felt nice against my face, a refreshing change from the stuffy air inside my car. But as I was enjoying that chill breeze, something totally weird happened. Just as I was thinking how peaceful it was, I felt a cold hand reach in through the window, grabbing my arm before I could even react. I was stunned. Like, what just happened? The grip was icy, like I was suddenly touched by winter itself. My instincts kicked in, and I swerved hard to the left, trying to shake whatever it was off. But in an instant, the hand vanished into thin air. I mean, poof, just gone. But the weirdest part? I looked down and saw a chilling imprint on my skin where that hand had grabbed me. It was like someone pressed a freezing cold hand against my arm, leaving a ghostly mark. I could feel my heart racing, and I started to sweat, even though it was cold outside. I glanced around, half expecting to see someone outside, but there was nothing. Just darkness and the faint outline of trees by the roadside. The air suddenly felt weird, and I couldn't get rid of this creeping feeling that I was being watched. It was like the whole night had changed in a heartbeat, and now I was all alone in this weird, spooky moment. I could suddenly feel my hands shaking really bad, so I had no choice but to pull over to the side of the road in case I get into an accident. I pulled over, still trying to catch my breath. I looked at my arm again, and the imprint was still there, stark against my skin. It felt like it was burning, but not in a regular way. It was cold but stinging, like someone had pressed ice against me for too long. I tried to wipe it off, but it wouldn't go away. After a minute, I decided to take a moment and collect myself. I needed to get home, but I couldn't just ignore what happened. I pulled my phone out to call a friend. Maybe talking to someone would make this feel a little less weird, you know? As I was dialing, I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a split second, I thought I saw a figure standing behind my car. It was hard to tell because the darkness was so overwhelming, but I swear I could see something, just a shadowy outline, like someone was lurking there. I blinked and it was gone. My heart skipped a beat. Maybe I was just tired, or maybe my mind was playing tricks on me after all that driving. I told myself it was probably just a trick of the light or something. I needed to shake it off and keep going. I didn't want to freak myself out more than I already was, so I took a deep breath, put my phone away, and started the car again. But as I drove, the chill in the air felt different. It was like the shadows around me were moving. I tried to turn up the music, thinking that would help drown out the uneasiness, but it just wasn't working. The imprint on my arm still felt icy, and the memory of that cold hand gripping me kept playing in my head. I thought about pulling over again, maybe splashing some water on my face or just getting out of the car to clear my head. But as I glanced at the clock, I realized it was getting late. I needed to get home. I pressed on. I swear, every corner I turned, I felt that same sensation of being watched, like something was waiting for me to make a mistake. Then, as I turned onto my street, the lights from my house glimmered in the distance. I felt a rush of relief wash over me. Home at last, right? I parked the car, and just as I was about to get out, I felt a sudden rush of cold air sweep through the car. It was the kind of cold that cuts through you, making you shiver despite the warmth of the interior. I glanced around, half expecting to see that hand reach back into the car, but there was nothing. Just emptiness. But I could still feel that something was in the air, like I wasn't really alone. Taking a deep breath, I finally opened the door and stepped out. The air was still, but it felt charged, like the calm before a storm. I hurried to the front door, fumbling with my keys, trying to get rid of the weird feeling. I just wanted to be inside, away from whatever I felt was lurking in the night. As I unlocked the door and stepped inside, I felt a rush of relief mixed with confusion. Once I was inside, I locked the door behind me and turned on the lights. Everything seemed normal, but I couldn't get rid of that icy imprint on my arm. It burned like it was alive. I rushed to the bathroom, splashed some water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. I couldn't help but notice how pale I looked. My heart was still racing, and all I could think about was that cold hand. I took a moment, trying to gather my thoughts. What had just happened? I told myself it was just a strange encounter, a freak moment, but deep down I knew it was more than that. In the end, I didn't know if I'd ever really understand what happened, but I did know one thing. That night changed me. I didn't take late-night drives for a long time, and every time I rolled down my window after that, I always checked to make sure nothing was there, just in case. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed these stories. If you did, check out more of my videos on the screens above or visit my channel for even more. Don't forget to subscribe for future updates. Stay safe and take care.